now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome and welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben.
on Spoiled Rotten, and we have another amazing guest today, a really cool guest, RB3, Rob. Thank you very much for showing up and reaching out. We at this podcast do like to talk about people, creating what they want to see out there and trying not to be too negative when we talk about things. So it's always great to have another creator on and someone who's made films and like done the hard work to actually get it done and out there. Very inspiring. And I know that you've got movies like Timestamp, but I think you're currently trying to get awareness out about urban luxury, which sounds like a very interesting project. If you could just let us know kind of like what you're most excited for people to see with this project.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the Spoiled Rotten podcast. You know what I'm saying? Very honored to be on with you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
I'm just, very honored that y'all give me the platform to even speak on this to begin with. I feel like, we all people of color, we all, black, brown, a lot of us here, even the listeners, I'm sure, are like a diverse group of people. So it's like, this is really like the crowd, and especially black nerds. Like this is really, people of color who are nerds. There's really like the kind of the target demographic that are urban luxury is kind of going after, or a lot of my stuff kind of goes after, but especially urban luxury, because the whole concept is it's about the commodification of the culture. So, if you've seen a lot of like those hype beast kind of people online, a lot of people who, listen to like rap music or like wear a lot of the expensive streetwear or, collect a bunch of stuff, but really actually don't really care about like the issues or actually
exactly.
care about black people in general. So that's kind of what this whole series is kind of highlighting a little bit about. So the first episode is called Urban Space Cowboy. It's about a comic book writer. He's dealing with writer's block. It's about a black comic book writer. He's dealing with writer's block, because he thinks he keeps trying to put himself in like this narrow space. Like, I have to write about race, that's what I got on for, you know what I'm saying?
I know that feeling.
Right. And then, I feel like as black people we're often, or black people, everybody, we're often asked to like exploit our story, exploit who we are to like something to like sell and manufacture it. And sometimes that's exhausting, so that's kind of what this character kind of goes on this journey of kind of unpacking and trying to decipher himself.
That's really cool.
Yeah, no, and that's that's just episode 1. The reason why it's about a comic book writer is because every 6 episode, it's a 6-part anthology series overall. We're trying to crowdfund $20,000 to produce the first 2 episodes, and the first 2, and basically each of the 6 parts are dealing with a different kind of corner that the commodification that the companies kind of target. I used to work at like an e-commerce company.
Okay.
So like I used to work at one of those like places that would sell a bunch of like comics and collectibles. They were basically breaking down into 6 categories: comics and collectibles, fashion, sneakers, trading cards, and like music collaborations and like fine art. Those are the 6 categories. Okay. So every episode is kind of taking one of those different categories and kind of taking a fun look at it, like a twisted kind of fun look at
exciting.
it.
That's
really
good.
Fun. Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as I said, I'm really happy you reached out. I definitely want to be part of helping you hit your goal, hopefully exceed it, and because I do think that there's a lot of times where, as you mentioned, you're asked to tell a story, but in a very certain way. So it's always exciting to see someone be able to get the funding themselves and tell the story they actually want to tell first, and then if that means they get sucked up and tell someone else's story later, that's fine. But being able to get that story out first is really important. So I'm hoping people
Yeah.
listen and support any way they can.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, this is for me, it's an exciting opportunity because I've definitely done a lot of like collaborations with a lot of people before. Like I did even my film Timestamp, which we crowdfunded for as well
Hmm.
through Indiegogo. I was a co-director on that with my friend Kay Huseby, who's helping out a little bit on Urban Luxury too.
Mhm.
But then with the most recent one I did, the comic shop with Shani Wulu.
Oh yeah.
That one is that's like I directed that, but that's her creation as well. So I really wanted to have something that this is all me. This is something I made from like scratch, and hopefully try to produce it and show the world. What I could do is not only just a director, but as a writer,
Hmm.
as a creator, as a world builder,
Mhm.
all those kind of things. So,
Very
that's
important stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And with the world of it all, it's all kind of, even though they're anthology series, they're 6 parts and they're like not very connected. Every episode in the background, there's like this e-commerce company that's like kind of lurking,
I love
like
that.
Mhm.
through every episode. They're called Gray Cloud, and the first episode,
Nice.
like I said, they like it's about a comic book writer at a publishing company. The second episode is about a trading card, somebody trying to get a basketball card at a mall, but they're like
Mhm.
immunocompromised, so they're like kind of
Oh
risking their
wow.
life to get this basketball card, you
Oh
know?
wow.
Yeah, and then that one, and but then and that movie, the second movie, Great Cloud is like the company that makes the card. The third episode is like a touching on the fashion angle, so they make like this hoodie that is the centerpiece of that film. So it's very, kind of like sprinkling in the background details of like, this is what's being sold to us. Maybe is it good? Is it not good? I don't know, you know?
I mean, that sounds like something we would love to dissect on a podcast like this. So I'm really excited for you to be able to bring that to life. That sounds really great.
Yeah, yeah, just
Yes,
because
man.
the amount of stuff that we've talked about having being like, okay, the capitalism through line being like, okay, is this actually promoting a culture? Is it exploiting it? We've just had that so many discussions there. So I'm so glad to see that you're actually tackling that. And so happy to be part of this promotion campaign for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, I've been meaning to. I've been seeing you on TikTok. I've been meaning to come through, for a cool minute. But it's like, hey, thanks for, I reached out,
Yeah,
and a
that's
lot
my
of
fault.
trying to, no, 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 no. It's this, no, no, no. It's I just, I'm usually always busy. So like, I wanted to make myself free to be able to tap in with,
Oh, I appreciate
everybody.
it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
especially people who are doing good content out there.
Thank you very much. No, I mean, we are, as I say, we always like to have very cool guests. So we're always, I don't know if confused is the right word, but we're always like, oh, wow, you want to talk to us? Great. Like, this is great. We'd love to talk to
Mhm.
you. So thank you very much for reaching out. And I'm just glad that we're here doing it. It seemed like, oh, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And we're here. We're doing it. So that's great. Did you want to? We'll come back to it at the end as well. But did you want to promote like the Indiegogo link? We'll put it in the show notes as well for
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, if it's in the show notes, it's right there. If you
Okay.
just go on
Yeah.
Indiegogo, Urban Luxury, type it in. And I always encourage people. People always say, "Oh, I want to wait. I want to wait till I get like some good money to contribute." Nah, if you got $5, just chip in five. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
because yeah, I spoke to people from the Indiegogo like office to try to get some support, and they look at the algorithm better. Like if you have a few donors who contribute a lot of money, that's cool. But they really, really like the projects where it's a lot of people
Yeah.
contributing a little money because it shows that there's an audience, there's enthusiasm. So if we get 100 people donating $5, that only seems like $500, but that does great for the Indiegogo algorithm, so we could like land on the front page or something. So
Yeah, as someone who also tried to crowdfund, I can echo that. It's really important that people donate what they can and not wait for a big lump sum. Like, yeah, exactly what you said. So,
Mhm.
as Ben said, we're really happy to help you get that word across to people and hopefully find some new ears
Mhm.
and get people interested.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
the greatest thing about this Indigo too is I don't know if this is the standard, but like I love the breakdown of like where the money's going and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So it really does help people be like understanding what goes into creating content at the level that you're creating it. It's because people are always just at least for me, when people are like, "How much did this cost to make?" and you give them a number, they're like, "How is that possible?" And I'm like, "Okay, if you look at the breakdown, people need to get paid, people need to eat,
Hmm.
people, like all this kind of stuff. It's not, we're not donating our time out here. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
We're trying to get paid ourselves. So it's really great to see how the everything breaks down per episode that you've had and all this kind of stuff. It's really really cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm
Mhm.
hopefully trying to. I gotta keep updating the Indiegogo page. There's still
Hmm.
more updates to come. Still gotta add more. We just got a new poster for PSA 10. I'm trying to
Oh,
get a
nice.
poster for Urban Space Cowboy pretty soon too. So it's all fun stuff. It's exciting.
All exciting things to see when you're donating to something like this and just get people excited with you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like we usually do on our cool guest episodes, we like to ask them who their top five comic book characters are. For anyone listening who's new, doesn't have to be a character that you met in a comic book, but just a character you've seen somewhere that at one point was in a comic book. So RB3, whenever you're ready, we can go through the five and talk about them.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of so many characters. I'm not the biggest like comic reader, but the one that I have read and I actually like adore is Watchmen,
Yep,
from the 1980s, 84, something like that.
Mhm.
And my favorite character out of that is Rorschach. It's kind
great
of we
character.
see a lot of that story through Rorschach's perspective, and I just think he's so fascinating, so interesting. Very it's interesting. Somebody's like almost kind of coded as like far right,
Hmm.
kind of like in a way, but also very sympathetic and very there's so
It's
many
a
layers
well
to that
written
character.
character.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think
Sorry.
that people get caught up in being like, well, no, I don't like him because he is obviously very far right. But I think it's different to enjoy reading a character or experiencing a character versus being like, I agree with what they stand for. And that's, I like, they're like me. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think we both really like Rorschach as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that he's definitely one of my favorite comic book characters. Also a great character to read is also like Luke Cage.
Hmm.
Almost for like the opposite spectrum for me because like he's very moral, he's very like principled, like very, always has a stance. And it's also very influenced by like one of my favorite genres of movies, like the black exploitation
Yeah.
Mhm.
kind of stuff, which is, some in some ways it's kind of cheesy, but in some ways it's just kind of fun to like read off the page too.
Mhm.
So I love Luke Cage as well. So that's number two. Um, I love all versions of Spider-Man, Peter
Yeah.
Parker, Miles
Great character.
Morales, so
Yes, sir.
I kind of don't even know which of them to pick, so I'm just gonna say both
Yeah.
in one spot, both in one spot.
No,
Any
that's
Spider-Man,
fair.
Um so that's three. Okay, Spider-Man, oh, guys, shout out to Chala from
Oh, yeah.
Black
Another
Panther.
great character.
Mhm.
Right. Now, with this, I never really read any Black Panther comic books. I always saw Black Panther pop up in like the crossover events, like
Hmm.
Mhm.
Civil War or like all the bigger things that came out. I've seen them do that. I never really read too many individual T'Challa stories, but just the introduction through the movie, the
Yeah.
Black Panther movie, was just phenomenal,
Mhm.
and just really got me invested in who that guy is. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know.
I know,
That's
yeah.
four.
T'Challa is he's also someone that it's only this year that I've gone back and committed to reading actual storylines
Mhm.
in the comics from because I before the movie came out, I tried and I was just like, it's not really for me. But I think being able to see it through a film first, helped me go back and appreciate some of the stuff that was in the comics more, but also stories that have
Mm.
come out since the movies obviously incorporate some stuff in the movies, which makes it easier for me. But yeah,
Mhm.
I do like reading him now.
Hmm. Yeah, not saying. I mean, I did go back and read some of the stuff. I think it's like more like origin stories kind of stuff. I think they have
Sure.
like something that came out in like 2000 like tens or something like that I
Mhm.
kind of keep. But I really do. It really was like the movie that really convinced me,
Yeah.
to really enjoy who he was as a character. So that's definitely right there. Yeah, and then I'm trying to. I kind of even struggling to think of like a fifth one. Part of me does want to say like the Hulk.
Mhm.
And then part of me also wants to say, yeah, I'll just say I'll stay with the Hulk. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I think the Hulk, the big green guy, I think he's cool. He's always just even as like a kid, I've always had the Hulk gloves, like,
The Hulk
Yeah.
gloves were
and
pretty
like
popular. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's my stuff. He never really got a fair shake in the movies. I like the Incredible Hulk movie with Ed Norton. I like that one,
Okay.
but he never really got a full fair shake. So
No,
Mhm.
I think that was the last time they tried with him in terms of a full movie.
mhm.
I think it was Joss Whedon that was kind of like, oh, he's good in doses, and obviously the rights issues. But yeah,
Mhm.
um, I mean that is a great list.
It's a solid list. Out of curiosity, what was the sixth one, the borderline fifth that you had
It
aside
was
from
gonna
the
be
Hulk?
it was gonna be Blade.
Okay, yeah.
Great,
Yeah,
great choice as
Blade.
well.
Yeah, I can. Only thing is with Blade, I really can't say I've like read any Blade like comic books per se. That really is purely
Mhm.
going off of the strength of the movies. Wesley Snipes movies.
Yeah.
I'm still like I still have like on my Marvel app I still have a list of Blade comics I haven't read yet because like you I've just watched the movie stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I really like Wesley Snipes' Blade, so it's just like yeah I don't know, am I gonna get the same experience reading comics? I guess I'll find out when I
Yeah.
finally read it, but I haven't yet.
I mean, the thing you both were saying about the T'Challa and the movies and all that kind of stuff, that's what transfers to me when I read anything Black Panther and anything
Mm.
Blade is like whenever I'm reading Blade, I'm like, this is Wesley Snipes that I'm seeing on page right now. I don't care how he's drawn. It's just that's
Mm.
the attitude, that was the vibe that he made so perfect for that character. And I'm like, that's what I'm bringing to every comic book that I see until we actually get Mahershala Ali. But
If that happens,
If that
if that
right?
ever
happens, I
happens,
don't
if
know
it
if
ever
that's happening.
happens, right?
Um, so yeah, I thank you very much for your list. We always love hearing that
Mhm.
and having people share that. Um, I guess it's time to get to
Yeah,
Ghost
well,
Rider.
I was gonna say, well, I can't hear y'all's. Y'all don't.
Oh, do you want? Yeah, I could go. I don't have a very exciting list. And it kind of skews DC, but my
Okay.
in no particular order. It's I mean, first would be for me Bruce Wayne Batman.
Mhm.
But I
Okay.
really like Dick Grayson Robin. Uh,
Mm,
I really like a good Catwoman story in the comics.
mm,
Obviously she's been portrayed well in movies, but in the comics, I really like how they write her.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, Peter Parker and Miles Morales kind of round that out as my other favorite comic book characters. It changes day to day, but Batman and Dick Grayson kind of stay up at the top most of the time for me.
Mhm.
oh, word. See, I didn't even think about Batman for some reason. I do love Batman. I think I probably would have put Joker. I like the character Joker a
I
lot
do
though
like a
too.
good Joker story. I can't.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And
But-
for me it's gonna be like there's gonna be Batman there, Peter Parker, Miles,
mm.
Goku from Dragon Ball for
Yeah.
Oh,
sure is going on there.
valid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Because like
that's
I don't
true.
like anime very much, but that's the only anime I really, really like. And I'm like, Goku just gets it done for me, right?
Hmm.
And then rounding out the last one, I don't know. Recently, I think the fifth spot is hard because it's usually the last of the list.
Mm.
But lately, I've been really enjoying Storm
Mm,
in X-Men runs
Oh, yeah.
great pull.
just because like any single thing I see from Storm, she's always making the right call. She's always doing the right thing. And that's one
Mm.
of those rare situations where I'm like, I don't read this as Halle Berry. I read this as Storm,
Yeah.
in the
Hmm.
sense where it's like whatever they did with Halle Berry's like performance and the whole X-Men run, I'm just like, oh, well,
Yeah.
let's forget about that for a second. Let's see how cool Storm actually is in the comics. And what I really liked about the X-Men 97 revival is that they actually brought a lot of that energy to Storm finally.
Hmm.
So
Mm.
I'm really a big fan of seeing Storm in anything. So that would be my 5 right now.
That's fire.
Perfect.
That's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like that. I feel like because I haven't read that much into Storm, I was like, maybe I don't know as much about it, so that's why, like I didn't. But you are right though, because X-Men 97, like that was an amazing Storm storyline that they had to
Oh
do
yeah.
that. Like
Mhm.
when she like lost her powers, had to end up regaining it back. I'm like, yo, this is it's actually really intense. Like it's
I,
crazy.
and it's the show that made me like Cyclops in not comic form. Like it's
Ah,
because I haven't really liked him in the movies, and I didn't really care
mhm.
about him during like the original run. So this 97, I'm like, okay, they're finally doing Cyclops that I know people love from the comics, and it
Mhm.
was, I just really liked X-Men 97. It was a great show.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um, well, we're gonna talk about something that potentially I don't think is great, but we're here. We don't try. We're not as, I try not to be that negative, but we revisited uh Ghost Rider from 2007 with Nick Cage and
That's right,
Mendes.
baby.
Um, yeah, I gave you some options, and then when you responded that you would take any of them, I was like, you know what? Let me give Ben an early Christmas gift, and let's do the Nick Cage movie.
Yes, sir.
um,
Because RB3, I don't know if you know this, but Nick Cage is like one of my biggest guilty pleasures, and it's just
Hey,
like the most ridiculous thing in the world, and it's awesome. It's just so good every single time I see it. So I'm very glad to be doing this with you.
so RB3, how was it when you kind of just your initial thoughts revisiting this movie this time around?
revisiting it, I ain't gonna lie, I had a lot of fun with this movie, man. I was like, I didn't remember how low key fun it was. I feel like it just came out slightly too early for when they were trying to make it. If they made this movie with like slightly better effects and like slightly better, cinematography, camera direction, this would have been like a quality MCU Phase One movie, like a Phase One movie. You
Yeah,
know what
it
I'm
could have
saying?
been. Yeah,
Like
I
it
agree
kind
with
of
that.
really did. It kind of really didn't feel like it felt pretty nice. Again, it was just some of the CGI was a little wonky, and then
Yeah.
some stuff was a little cheesy. Otherwise, though, I had fun. I liked it.
Mhm.
Ben, what about you?
Oh, you know my answer already. I love this thing.
You
This thing
loved
is
it.
so much fun. It's because it's to me the sweet spot of like how simple a superhero movie was back then, as opposed to
Hmm.
it being super connected and all that kind of stuff. Which it's really fun in that sense, because if you were to be like Nick Cage has to be connected to a greater universe, I'd be like, no, get him out of there. That's bad casting. Because Nick Cage has to be the guy, right? Because it's
Hmm.
so eccentric, he's so over the top. And if this was to connect to, let's say, Blade around that period of time. Like if Wesley Snipes had a post credit scene in this, I'm like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So it's the idea of like this being so self contained, so simple of a storyline, and just fun, because the cage out that you have where he does his first transformation, you're like, that's exactly why he was cast here.
I cannot. Yeah, I mean, I cannot disagree with what both of you have said. I am famously not a Nick Cage fan.
Mhm.
So just I don't know. Those some mileage may vary, but I do think that I agree that it is fun. I found myself really enjoying when he was legitimately Ghost Rider and just doing Ghost Rider things. Those were, even with the janky CGI, was just like, nah, like this is fun. I'm enjoying this part of it. Um, I found myself getting really caught up in just the relationship thing. I always just felt like you should just leave Eva Mendes. I know her name's Roxanne, but I was just like, you should just come on. This is not gonna. The amount of times he lets her down, I was like, please, just
Yeah.
leave. Please, I don't. And having seen the sequel, I know she's not in it, so I'm like, you could just leave in this movie. You could just go. I don't. I wouldn't blame you. I just really felt bad that she kept giving him these chances, and even though some of them were justified, I was like, you're still letting her down.
Yeah. Yeah, she needs a good round of therapy and to stop messing around with fuckboys for sure.
Look, you should have known, right? Any dude riding a motorcycle at like what, like 15, 17, whatever,
Yeah.
he was in the flashback is like, come on, that's already a big red flag. Like you
It's
can't
Yeah.
true.
trust them to
I didn't
begin
even
with,
think
you
about
know.
that. I was just like,
Motorcycle,
yeah, I
no
guess they're
helmet.
lovers. But you're right. Like, if he's doing that stuff at that age, you should know that it's not a sustainable relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
motorcycle riding really only comes like post midlife crisis. You know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe, or if you're a writer, you know, from the beginning, salute to you. I don't want to discriminate against the writers, but I never knew a writer who was also a committed married man. You know what
It's
I'm saying?
it's
That's
funny
right.
you say that. My friend who rides just stopped and got married, so I feel like you're right. Like it was he did this trade off of like, yeah, I sold my bike and then got married like months later.
Yeah.
Right, sell your bike or sell your soul. It's one of those
Yeah.
options. One of those options.
I
Yeah.
mean, you're definitely right. You're definitely right about that. I've never seen a writer that has had been portrayed in a healthy relationship kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if y'all saw the bike riders that came out like
hmm
earlier this year
With
with like
Tom Hardy and
Yeah,
yeah.
Austin Butler. Yeah. It's like yo, all them dudes by the end of it were single, like couldn't have a
Mm-hmm.
family. Like that's a lifestyle. That's a lifestyle choice. They're gonna choose the bike over the
Yeah.
lady any time of day, you know?
That's
That is
right.
a common refrain in that movie. It's like, don't ask me to pick between you and the bike.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, I guess, do people know the storyline? I feel like I got a bit confused. You guys both said it was pretty simple. I was like, I think I got confused as to. I know Wes Bentley was the bad guy, but
Yep.
wasn't like wasn't Peter Fonda the bad guy too, or was I like wrong about that?
Well, they're both bad guys. Like they're both bad guys. It's just that Peter
It just
Fonda
seemed
is
like
the
yeah.
original bad guy that has
Mhm.
like the contract and all that kind of stuff that they're
hmm
trying to desperately get, and is basically he's Mephisto, so he's the original bad guy. And then
Mistopheles, yeah.
yeah, and then who's that? Wes Bentley is just like the brat
He's the
prince.
son, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's the son. He just wants to be like, hey, it's
Entitled.
my turn now, Dad. And Dad's like, no, shut up.
But I felt like at some point, Ghost Rider was like, "Yeah, I got to work for Mistopheles and take these people out." And I was
Yep.
like, "Oh, I don't know why I remembered that he was trying to fight Mistopheles for most of the movie."
Yeah, he really wasn't until the end where it's like, yeah, give me my contract back. I hold my own destiny now. But
Yeah.
yeah, for the most part, it's just like, hey, your son's a douchebag, so we're gonna primarily fight your son.
Um, was there anything that stood out to you, RB3, like that kind of really worked for you this time around?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that worked for me. It's funny. I remember seeing this movie back when it first came out, 2007. My mom would not let me see it
Mm.
because my mom, very religious, household. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah,
So this is like you talk about satanic panic. Like this is peak.
yeah,
Like
that'd be right up there.
ain't nobody trying to see that. So my dad actually took me to see
Love it.
this like secretly. You know what I'm saying? And I even remember sitting in the theater like a little scared, like, oh shoot, let's see, like, and then yeah, it honestly starts off. Of course, the beginning part is traumatic. Like, it's funny, it's traumatic, but it's like not really traumatic. They kind of have the dad's like death scene happen, but it's not. They don't show anything like actually scary. I feel like if this was a modern film, they would have actually shown like the accident more thoroughly. Would have shown him
hmm
got burned up, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But this one, it kind of is a little bit more tame. But then I always love the scene when he's about to do the big jump over the
Oh, the
uh
helicopters.
over the helicopters. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I traded
At
out the cars.
right, he brings in the helicopters, lands them, and then he asks old boy like, "Oh man, you think she's on the interstate right now?" And then he's like, "Yeah," and just takes off like immediately.
Yeah,
And
just
just
like
hops over. Right, and just drives right on out onto the highway. I always thought that was really fun. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Yeah, like I said, his first transformation, him transforming into the jail is fun too.
hmm
Um, Again, I think all these transformations would have been like prime time MCU funness if it was, like just a year later or like a couple years later.
I
You know what I'm
do,
saying?
yeah, I do think like not that it's MCU, but even the care that I thought was put into a movie like Kick Ass, which Nick Cage
Mm,
is in,
You're
Because
right.
it's like a 3 years difference, but you can see how this could have been as good. I mean, uh, conversely, a year later he does the second one of these, and people don't really respond to it either.
Yeah, true.
But I do think that yeah, just that change in mindset between 2007 and 2010, when you do have a bit of MCU out in the Dark Knight out, that he could have
Right.
probably been a part of something a lot better
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
if it was just shifted a couple years when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I agree with you, this does play like a Phase One MCU movie, and it would be cool to have Ghost Rider in the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even down to like, him, even down to him not really having like a secret identity, like people
Yeah.
pretty much know right from the beginning, like, oh, Johnny Blaze is the Ghost Rider, and they're all trying to hunt him down. They try to shoot him out outside of the apartment building, and then he just ends up flaming out, even
Yeah,
tougher
it's
than
just
riding
him
on.
getting annoyed at the cops. Like,
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, so it's some fun stuff in there. It's really fun.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I think maybe, and this isn't the movie's fault. I think maybe for my purposes, like, I wish he turned into Ghost Rider sooner. I was,
Mm.
because as I said, I was on board with all the Ghost Rider stuff. I was always like, yeah, all right, let's do more of this. I'll watch this. It
Mhm.
was more the beginning part where I was just like, oh, we're doing a lot of serious stuff with his dad, and I don't know if he's got some form of like a death wish after the dad, and the way he actively tried to hurt himself during some of the stunts. But then once Ghost Rider comes around, I'm like, yep, all right, I'm on board.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
Ben, what about you?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously there's the Nick Cage of it all,
The
but
Nick Cage of it all, which I've already talked about. The thing that held up for me was actually the effects this time around, like the
Mm.
VFX and the CGI. And the reason why is because like Blade 2, which had one of the worst CGI kind of things. This was 5 years after, so they really learned how to scale back to be like, hey, we're not there yet. But where we are at is really making a good, convincing, like, let Nick Cage freak out. So we're not actually pinpointing every single detail of the CGI and we're distracted by the performance. And then the other thing that really, really caught my attention too is when he gets out of it for the first time and is in the graveyard with Sam Elliott and he goes from the flame skull to his regular face. I'm like, okay, that was actually really well done.
mm-hmm.
These things really held up to me. I thought it was really, really good. Now, if I looked at it from today's standards, sure, not really, but they just found a good sweet spot to be like, this is the limitations of where we're at right now. This is how we're going to pull back and actually make everything work really, really well. Because whenever he's Ghost Rider and the flames are going, I'm like, this actually looks really good,
Yeah.
and it had every opportunity to look really bad. So it worked really, really well for me. And like you said, everything he does when he's Ghost Rider is absolutely awesome. When he's Nick Cage, it's just hilarious because like at a certain point, I'm just like, when I first started the movie opening, I'm like, did they really need another actor for this? And then I'm like, when I saw Nick Cage, I'm like, oh yeah, he,
Mm.
I don't know how old he was at this point in time, but he was probably on the older end of like conceivable to be like with the backstory of Eva Mendes and him growing up at the same time. I'm just like,
Oh yeah, that
hold
that
on.
part did not work for me. I
Yeah.
mean, I was just like, whatever. Like I already knew that going into this, but I was like, they're not the same age. Like
Yeah.
Not even
they are,
close.
they are. I thought they did a good job of casting young Roxanne. I was like, yeah, she could grow up into Eva Mendes.
Yes.
But then like, yeah, you are kind of just sitting there like, sorry, were you the same age as him or not? Because you guys do not look the same now that you're both adults.
Yeah. Or it's just like, oh man, Cage has not been taking care of himself. It's like we needed some sort of visual evidence of like, oh, he's been smoking and drinking a lot or something like
That
that.
that part works about it then, I guess.
Yeah.
He is haggard from I guess the guilt that he feels.
Mhm.
I will let. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
My
no, go
bad.
for it. Go for it.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say. I would love to see Nick Cage in like a caretaker kind of role in the new Ghost Rider
Yeah,
movie. Like he's like Sam
Yeah.
Elliott, but
that would be great.
just like the old Ghost Rider passing the torch to the new Ghost Rider with the hat and everything like that.
Mhm.
I could see that as like one last ride for Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider.
I would love that. I mean, I guess they couldn't redo what they do here, which is they both do the Ghost Rider thing at the same time. But I would like to see him be able to do it one last time in an MCU version. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah, especially because like of all the cameos and all the roles that existed in Deadpool and Wolverine, I was just like, oh man, if they pull off the Nick Cage Ghost Rider, that would be awesome. So I'm still waiting for it. I mean, waiting for it.
I don't know why Blade was there, other than the meta thing of people thought Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds didn't get along because he's not Fox or Sony, but Ghost Rider's Sony, so there was never going to be any Ghost Rider there.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, man.
I forgot about the legalities of it all. Yeah, the rights and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, it would have been cool to see him because I keep forgetting, like, oh right, this isn't Fox, because I was like, yeah, he should have been in Deadpool and Wolverine, like you said, but yeah, they weren't gonna do that.
I gotta see, I would definitely love to see something like that in like Secret War or just something, just where they, because I'm sure one of these movies is gonna be a big cameo fest, and then just give Nick Cage just one last ride.
That's the place to do it for sure. And I will give the movie credit as someone who's not a big fan of Nick Cage. I did not find him to be annoying in this movie at all. I thought he fit what they were going for. I will say that I think that if he has the right director, he can be aimed in the right direction and used like properly. As this is the director of Daredevil, I don't know if that's the thing, and I think they just lucked out that he was a big fan and wanted to get it right.
I will say I feel like you're absolutely right. He needs the right director in order to channel whatever it is he does, because it's whenever I see something like this, I'm like, okay, good. He gets to do his over-the-top Nick Cage stuff when he's transforming, when no one really notices, right? Because it's just like, okay, what would be someone like? What would someone act like if their face was starting to burn or like they were starting to go up in flames? You would be over the top. So it's just like, okay, good. Let him do that there. Everything else, pull him back, way back, and just, and then also like let him just have whatever chemistry he has with Eva Mendes and just be like, okay, yeah, that's Cage, whatever, it's fine. But everything else, yeah, he's pretty toned back in this one for sure.
Yeah, I think I appreciated his restraint in that, in that he was definitely going for something with his version of Johnny Blaze before he transitions to Ghost Rider, and so I appreciate it.
He's doing like a really fun, like crazy stuntman. Kind of like playing really hard into that role. So it is almost like a form of, being a stuntman is also basically like being a performer, being an actor. So he is kind of almost like playing a version of himself, like in a certain kind of way. At least like pre, flaming up. But yeah, when he's like doing his whole thing of, being like this kind of weird, like celebrity who likes to watch his monkey shows, but when he gets in front of people, he goes crazy. And then when he does transform into the superhero thing, it just kind of makes sense. Like he transfers the ego from the performance into the kind of the performance aspect of being Ghost Rider. Like because all those kills are mad over the top. He's like, look into my eyes. And then like, starts burning their souls and stuff. And then him whacking all those guys at the police station and then just pointing to like the one little black kid, like, you're innocent.
I was so happy when he did that. I was like, okay, good. He's innocent.
I love that. I love that so much. It was good.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what RB3. Was there any? You don't have to answer this. If you don't want to. Was there anything negative you had about this movie? Anything that was kind of like?
Yeah, I did. Look, I'm not gonna. I know this movie wasn't great when it came out in terms of reviews. I know it's not. I wouldn't be saying anything original if I like dogpiled on like the negativity that's been on for over the years.
I appreciate that.
It's at this point. There's some movies. It's like it's been in the cultural zeitgeist for so long. We can only show it appreciation. You know what I'm saying? Like unless like we actively got on here and was like, oh, what's wrong with this movie?
It's not an offensive movie that way. I don't think.
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of like not really offensive. It's actually kind of more or less like right down the middle. Like I can't I can't imagine anybody really hating this movie. I can't really imagine some, I know you're a big fan, Ben, you know what I'm saying? But I can't imagine too many people being like, yeah, I'm the Ghost Rider stan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't imagine a big protest, you know what I'm saying? Outrage about it. But I mean, of course, like, it has fans. I like it. And there are things, of course, like when the caretaker, he soldier, like he goes on that quick ride with Nick Cage and then just like all the way, he rides with him all the way to the battlefield, and it's like, oh, I can't do anything anymore because I have nothing to do. It's like, what? Like, why'd you even do it? Why'd you even ride this far?
Yeah.
Like,
I definitely felt that. I definitely like, wait, what?
I didn't mean to
just go
hide.
I'm like, I feel like Sam Rockwell was just like, yeah, I'm my contract,
Yeah.
No, but not Sam Rockwell. Sam Elliott. Elliott. Yeah, my bad. Wrong Sam. He's probably like, yeah, schedule's up. Sorry, y'all. I gotta do it. Like.
Yeah. Because he's in Hulk too, right? He's the first Thunderbolt Ross.
Yes.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So I think he was like, yeah, I know how these things work. All right, I did my time. Goodbye.
Not in the budget for sure.
So, yeah, that was the one point I was like, I don't know, but
yeah, and I think that's where this movie thrives. Like going off what you're saying, RB3 is the idea of like, this is back when Cage was still like an action movie star. So this is more coded as an action movie, which is why I appreciate what you're saying, like straight down, like nothing offensive about this. This is a competent movie. And this is why it's like, okay, it's back in the era where they still treated comic book movies like action movies. And then it was truly the MCU that started bringing in comic book elements of like, here's this cameo that has this impact and to this story and all that kind of stuff, which is why I'm like, I don't think this would actually work as an MCU. Maybe phase 1 movie for sure, but it would definitely have been one of the rockier phase 2 movies where it's just like, how are they connecting this? Like, what's going on and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, and it is because of the casting. I think Nick Cage doesn't play well in that sandbox in the sense where he's so over the top, where how is everyone else going to act around him? Right? It's just like, okay.
I would give you Into the Spider-Verse as a counter to there. That's a big personality that works perfectly well in that team setting. Yeah. And if he's doing Ghost Rider stuff, he's not actually necessary on set. He could just do the voiceover like he did it Into the Spider-Verse.
I mean, that's true.
I think he could work. I would say that it's especially with the subdued performance he's doing as Johnny Blaze. Like, it's a performance. I agree. He's doing the like kind of eked out stuntman, as you said, like especially in that scene where he's like, hey, don't turn off the TV, I'm listening to music, I'm watching my monkey show. Like, yeah, he's being a little crazy, but that is him bouncing off someone else, and I can see that working in a phase 1 MCU movie where he would be bouncing off the other characters if need be for a couple of scenes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just because I mean, like, Tony Stark Iron Man did exactly that, right?
Yeah, like Tony Stark was definitely someone who tried to suck the air out of the room, and I said as someone who loved Tony Stark, but I do think that it could have worked if they wanted it to.
Right, and it would have been like, okay, and that's why I say like phase 1, because it's just like where he's at the end of the movie. Clearly he's looking to play with others and do all that kind of stuff and get along a little bit better, because the entire first like act of the movie, I'm like, oh man, you really hate your best friend there. That's only trying to like help you out and be like checking in on you to be like, like, hey,
that guy really
what's going on
for Johnny Blaze.
Yeah, he really cared. And then everything is just like, oh yeah, I didn't tell you about this, but I made helicopters instead of cars.
Yeah, he just seemed to be really annoyed by that guy, or to actively want to make his life hard. And I was just like, fair enough.
You didn't tell him he was going to take off? Yeah, no, that was funny. That was funny.
Yeah, for sure.
Does anyone have any thoughts on the Wes Bentley character other than he's a douchebag? Like, how'd you feel about him as a threat or lack thereof?
Yeah, he's not really a threat, and or he is kind of a. I didn't find Wes Bentley threatening per se. You know what I'm saying? He's about as threatening as like the bad vampires in the Twilight movies.
Mm-hmm. That is
Which
that
is
he did give off that energy. Actually,
Yes, he did.
yeah. I literally had to Google. I was like, was Wes Bentley actually in Twilight? Like, nah. But he was in the Hunger Games, and he kind of almost had the same energy he brought to homie in the Hunger Games. Yeah, I was like, what? Like, it's crazy. But nah, it's a cool villain, but this is the more subpar. I think Ghost Rider is really the main priority, and the Ghost Rider / Mephisto or Mr. Cities.
What one thing I liked about him was when he tried to do the death stare, and he's like, "That's not gonna work on me." I was like, "Nice, I love these Uno reverso type things."
Right. He's like, "I have no soul." I'm
look, this is gonna work. It in a very surface way is like, well, that's something for Ghost Rider to work on for later in the movie. I was like, okay, good. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know how true this is, but I did read that he was just taking any role at that time because to feed his like drug addiction, and I'm just like, it made me watch it very differently. I was just like,
really.
Yeah, like again, I don't know how true it is. It's on IMDb. Like anyone could put anything, so it's just like it made it a very interesting watch though, because I was just like, oh no, like he's like high right now. I don't know if he's even active. So like I'm hoping it's not true. But even when you say, yeah, he's kind of doing the same thing in Hunger Games, I'm like, yeah, like, what if it's just like the same time period for him? And he's just like, I gotta get my fix. Put me in any movie you can.
Right. I'll just be that. I'll be that weird guy with the slightly off kilter. But I'm gonna get something for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I think is merciful about the movie is that it's very focused on like, look, there's this contract, the devil's son wants it, and Ghost Rider's not going to give it to him, and so they don't have a bunch of characters. Really, it really is just like these main characters: Roxanne, Ghost Rider, the devil, his son, and Ghost Rider's friend that you kind of focus on. So I feel like we've touched on all of them, but so it is good in that it feels focused. It doesn't feel overstuffed or like they're trying to. Yeah, it doesn't feel overstuffed. I think that's also a plus for this movie.
Yeah, because if the Wes Bentley character was an actual threat, like if we were actually afraid of him, it's just like, oh crap, then we really got to get going in this movie, right? He's got to really figure this out. But it works because it's the origin story. It's like he doesn't really need to figure out that much because he's really just facing an entitled little brat at the end of the day. Where it's
and
like,
his cool friends though, like the cool demon friends.
His demon friends were
they
cool.
put up a fight.
Yeah, they did.
One of them got murdered pretty quickly too, though. In that one
True.
part too.
That is true.
I was like, man, that's kind of tough. But they did it's funny. This movie also takes place over like 4 or 5 days. Like everything happens like very quick. He's like night 1, he turns into Ghost Rider. To night 2, he tells Eva Mendes about it, and he goes to jail. And it's like night 3, he's fighting. Like,
and she sees, and it's like, okay, he was telling the truth. Great.
Right. Yeah, she was like, I only see 2 options. I can either take you to therapy right now, or you've been lying to me and making excuses. I'm like, dang, bro, like you ain't hearing
so that was the time where I was like, yeah, she's right, and this sucks for her because she seems so invested in this relationship with him. But I'm glad that, like you said, the phase 1 of MC where it's like they don't even bother with a secret identity for him. It's like, yeah, Johnny Blaze is the Ghost Rider. He's not hiding it. He tells the people that matter to him. So, and I do like that approach where you can just because I think on this podcast in particular we've talked about the Raimi Spider-Man in particular, where it's like he's just gaslighting these people who love him. And I mean that as gaslighting because like at some points he'll get angry at them for asking. Like in the second movie, he's like, "Leave me alone!" What is Harry Osborn? He's just like Harry Osborn just has like a valid question of like, you know who Spider-Man is, and he killed my dad. Do you have any insights? He's like, leave me alone. Like, let's not talk about it. I'm like, but like that's your best friend. You should want to help him.
Yeah,
not keep things from him. So yeah, I like it. I like that about the first Iron Man in particular. He's just like he has the script for what Iron Man is. He's like, no, I'm Iron Man. I'm like, great. We can get rid of all the hiding stuff. And this movie did it before Iron Man. This movie was like, no, yeah, I'm you matter to me, so I'm going to tell you right now. I'm Ghost Rider. That's the reason this is happening, and I was like, love it. I always respect that move in a superhero story.
Yeah, yeah, especially because like it's I think it's a good parallel to draw because like in this Johnny Blaze is a celebrity versus like in Blade where he's not hiding it, but also people don't know about him. He's so
Yeah.
underground that it's just like we don't
And it's also
this
just-
name doesn't mean anything to the public like
Yeah.
spectrum, right? Versus like, oh my god, Johnny Blaze is Ghost Rider? That's nuts, and you know all this kind of stuff. So I really really appreciate that because yeah, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man is just he's a dick.
It doesn't mean I don't like the movies. It just
Yeah.
feels like that's something that's hard to watch when you grow up and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
and you've seen the MCU where it doesn't factor in that much for the heroes because he's still having to help the people he loves from all the villains anyway. So you might as well let them in on what they're signing up for.
Yeah,
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's and it's funny that kind of ended up becoming a conflict with the Tom Holland ones, right?
Mhm.
Like how it's like he started to know, some people started to know, but it became so crazy that the world knew. So then he had to literally reverse his whole like. It's just so funny how like hidden identities just play such a big part. And,
that worked for me because I'm like, he's a teenager. Like
Yes.
he's gonna make some bad choices, like the whole what happens at the end of No Way Home. We won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but like it's just like one of those things where I'm like, yeah, he's a kid. Like he doesn't know any better. Versus, unfortunately, Tobey Maguire looks like a 30-year-old in the Spider-Man movies. You're like, come on, you
Yeah.
should know better than this.
but he's a legit adult there because they're doing the whole university angle and him doing a photography through that. So he is
I
legitimately.
think
an
by the
adult there,
second
which
one, they're
makes
trying
it
to say
worse.
he's like not in university. I think they're supposed to be like graduated university by the second one, aren't they?
I don't know if they
Because like it's like Harry is just running his father's company.
Yep.
MJ is just acting. Like there's no one's like, oh, I got to go to class.
Yeah, they're legit.
They went to university in the
adults.
first movie, and then it feels like they were just, yeah, no, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We're just doing this now.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so much worse is the idea. I'm like, no, you're a grown ass man. Like you
Yeah.
should know that you can't lie to people the same way a teenager could lie to people and still try to get away with it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you should have learned something, especially because I'm like, hey, you're lying to your Aunt May too. That sucks. She's a legit old lady there. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
About a very key aspect. Like, I mean, I guess the same thing for Harry. It's like, there's these two people that have these mystery deaths in their lives, and he's just sitting on this information, like, leave me alone.
Yeah, he's not saying shit about Uncle Ben. He's not saying anything. It's just like, give him some closure, man. You're just being such a dumbass. But yeah, none of that here in this movie.
No, they really know what they want to get accomplished, and
Yeah.
I respect them for that.
For sure. And it's the funny thing is, it's like he could have kept it a secret, and no one would have known because it's
Yeah, 'cause
like
he does not have a recognizable face once it's like
Exactly.
those skull. Like,
especially because when you get to, and this is one of my favorite things is like when you see cameos of people before they get big and get their big break, where you have the Rebel Wilson kind of thing here, where she's being interviewed by Eva Mendes, and she's describing it literally as what she saw, and everyone's like, she's crazy. She's like high or something like that. It's like ain't no one having flaming heads and steam and all that kind of stuff like you were saying. But like it's really, really cool to be like, no, you could be telling the truth and still no one would believe you until they actually see it.
You can see the transformation. Exactly.
Any other kind of final thoughts about the movie?
Other than, you're right. I definitely don't think a team up like would be ideal for this kind of Ghost Rider, but I would definitely love to see, hey, look, they bring Nick Cage back for a cameo or something, or even a new Ghost Rider. I know they had one in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I believe.
I like
if I'm
that
not
one.
mistaken.
Yeah, that's the Robbie Reyes one, I think.
Yeah. That was pretty cool too. But I did like that they grounded it in like this metal, kind of almost like country mid country, because a lot of this movie is taking place in like Texas, Midwest, like kind of stuff. I kind of like that they grounded it to the like country hillbilly kind of corner. I don't want to say hillbilly, but like, I don't know. My bad. Like the middle America. They made him almost like a middle America superhero a little bit.
Yeah.
as opposed to most, superheroes are like New York
Big
or
city,
LA,
yeah.
stuff like that. That's why I think, a standalone Ghost Rider series where he's just doing those kind of states and those kind of adventures, movie or series will be dope.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily have to cross over into like New York or New Jersey or LA. Like I think it could just be its own kind of thing. I think that would be cool. And maybe they do bring a Blade into it. Do a Midnight Sun situation, but
Yeah.
I still think there's
Mhm.
plenty of Ghost Rider story to like tell on his own. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. One little tidbit here that I think is hilarious about this is that apparently Johnny Depp was being considered for the role of
Johnny
Johnny
Depp for
Blaze.
Johnny Blaze.
Yeah, yeah. And then apparently Nick Cage heard about it and just started harassing the director to be like, no, you got to give this role to me. And I'm
Yeah,
just
I
like,
do-
that's so funny to me.
I do like that it's something he genuinely wanted to do.
Yep.
It
Mhm.
was not just like whatever, I'll do their stupid comic book. I mean, he says he named himself after Luke Cage. That's why his last name is Cage. He's got all the like Superman comics. He named his kid Kal-El, so I believe him when he says he likes comic books. So it's cool that he legitimately wanted to portray this character and worked for it. I don't know how hard you'd have to work if Nick Cage is saying, "Let me do your movie."
Yeah, I mean, he's an Oscar winner, and I really can't see Johnny Depp in this role. If I'm being honest, like he doesn't have as much swagger.
I think he would
as
just
Nick
try
Cage
and
does.
do his Captain Jack thing. Like it would be after like the initial Pirates of the Caribbean, and we wouldn't. At least, as I said, this is me seeing Nick Cage do something different than what people expect of Nick Cage in this role. So it was nice to see him do something different. And I agree with you, RB3. I don't think Johnny Depp would do something different with it.
I could see Johnny Depp being way too serious for this role and making it not a fun movie whatsoever. Like Cage being in this makes it a fun movie, but Depp would have probably, and this is just me like playing the what if game, but I feel like Depp would have been, because of the Pirates of the Caribbean thing, he's like, no, I have to do the complete opposite to show people I have range
he
and
wasn't
play this
doing that.
super emo.
Every role he was doing was just, I'm gonna keep doing Captain Jack. Even in the
That's true.
even in that Once Upon a Time in Mexico movie, he was just quoting Captain Jack lines. Like, he wasn't. That was a movie where like this is a very specific universe. We've already done like 2 or 3 movies, and he came in there and was like savvy. I'm like, oh my goodness, all right.
No, I guess you're right. You're definitely right. That's really, he embodied that character really well.
Yeah, I mean,
took
he
it
found something
everywhere.
he liked doing, and I'm happy for him. But like, I was just like, I don't think he would have done something different, especially that close to the Pirates movies.
Right.
Yeah, he's like the Tyler Perry of white men. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
You know, yeah, this is what people want from me. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
All right. Well, guys, RB3, I don't know if you know this, but we do rate these movies out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. We can go first if you want some time to think about it.
Yeah. I would love to hear y'all first. Yeah.
I was trying to be as positive as possible. I'm still gonna give this a 5.5 out of 10. It's just the Nick Cage of it all. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. That's why I'm giving it a 7.5.
Oh,
that sounds good.
I'm into it. This is just such a good movie. I have watched this movie recently, and I'm just like, I'm so happy to be watching it again for review.
Yeah, no, I got to peep. I literally peeped it today, even before, right before hopping on today. So I got to say, I dug it. Not great, but still fun. So for that, I'm gonna split the difference right in between y'all. 6.5 out of 10. Maybe even close to a 7, but 6.5
like
is
a real
more,
strong 6.5.
Yeah,
like
real strong 6.5. Yeah,
Okay.
it's had a fun time. I would rewatch again. You know.
I mean, I definitely want to watch the sequel again because I remember thinking like, oh, those are the guys that did Crank. This is gonna be crazy, and I watched it in 3D and everything, and I don't remember thinking it was great, but I have to revisit it now that I've got this fresh in my mind and see how they compare.
I'm gonna revisit it, but even I, knowing it's Cage in the second one, is just like, no. They should have stuck with this one. That's it. They shouldn't have made it.
They're
a
definitely
sequel.
different tones. That's for
They're
sure.
entirely different.
Really?
But yeah.
Well, the second one has Idris Elba too, so I feel like that would help me.
That's why I remember Idris being in it. For some reason, I just don't remember seeing the second one at all. Like, I don't think I even saw it. But
It is. I think they really. It's funny because my thing for this would be like just do more Ghost Rider, and I feel like that movie is pretty much like all Ghost Rider. My memory of it, and I was like, oh, maybe that's. I just remember leaving the theater like I guess that still didn't work for me. So
Yeah.
I would like to revisit it now that I've had a lot more comic book movies to watch, and it doesn't feel as precious to go out and see a comic book movie. You're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's true. Because back then it was like, I was only one a year, so like, we're like 2 a year, so we really gotta savor it.
RB3, thank you so much for doing this. I want to give you another opportunity to kind of let people know where they can find you online, where they can. I mean, yeah, the Indiegogo will be in the show notes, as I said, but where people can find you online and just get to know you better.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate y'all for having me. Y'all can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, @director RB3. And you can follow Urban Luxury Series @Urban Luxury Series on Instagram. Stay updated on our Indiegogo campaign, all that stuff. I don't know when this is going to be posted. But we have
Monday.
Monday. So we still have 2 weeks left. We still have 2 weeks left in our campaign, 14 days. So get to it. Get in there. I mean, again, $5. Skip your Starbucks for a day. Skip your, skip your Wendy's biggie bag. Skip your whatever you spend $5 on. Y'all can still spend it, but maybe save it one of those $5 days for your boy to support. Something original, something black.
Exactly.
I'm from Compton. Support Compton.
And it's the season for giving. So like,
it is definitely the season.
Definitely get the $5 meal. And also give $5.
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean,
get and give.
As I alluded to, like a lot of people like to complain that there's not enough original stuff out here. So this is a chance for you to put your money where your mouth is and support something original. Because if you're not going to do that, you can't really complain that the same stuff gets made. This is a direct opportunity for you to help see something different out there from someone who's passionate about it. So. Again, thank you very much, RB3. Best of luck with the Indiegogo, but I feel like you are a talented person that's going to make stuff that people enjoy, and you'll find a way to get it out to people. So we're happy to be a part of that process as well, in the small way that we can be. Everybody, thank you very much for listening. We are at TDF Spoiled on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and we also have a youtube.com/@TDF Spoiled. So you can follow along that way. We're on all the different podcast platforms. Rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. Our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com, and you can go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten to get all the different links and shows, the full catalog. Yeah, thank you very much for listening, and go support original stuff.
That's
Bye-bye.
right. Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.